welcome to this video tutorial series on Pascal. So we're going to go through a series of videos showing the basics of Pascal programming. We're going to start with the very basics, so that includes things like outputting things on the screen to even creating variables, and then we'll get into more in-depth problems such as using loops or using loops constructively by adding counters or doing some sort of calculation. So in this very first and short video, I'm going to show you how we can use Pascal to output some simple messages on the screen. So without any further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open Pascal XC. Okay, so this is the program that we're using in school. And before we get started with anything, it's good to understand that Pascal, like all programming languages, uses some sort of a structure. So the structure in Pascal is quite simple to follow. It tries to use more human-readable commands rather than more difficult commands that you might see in some other languages. So to initialize a program and to get started with Pascal, the first thing that we need to do is we need to give our program a name. So you need to use the program command, like so, and then you need to define a name. So we're going to call this first lesson, like so, and then we're going to add a semicolon at the end just to say that we finished with our statement. Now please be careful. If you try and give Pascal a name for the program that is more than one word, like this, Pascal will basically throw a fit and will tell you you can't do that. Okay, so if we have two words and we really want to distinguish that it's two words, you might as well use something like an underscore, like this. Pascal will accept this. Also, Pascal will not allow you to put a number at the beginning of the name because this will cause some other problems. So I'm just going to call my first program or first lesson, okay? And right after we give Pascal a name for the program, then we have the begin statement and the end statement. So what you need to remember, let me just make this full screen, okay? So what you need to remember is that all of your instructions will go between the begin and the end, okay? So any instructions that come after the end will be ignored. They won't run, okay? Now, another thing that you have to remember is that between the program section and the begin section is where we will define any variables or any constant values that we want to define. Now, in this case, the very first lesson, I'm going to show you how you can display something on the screen, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is, since I've given my program a name, so I've called it first lesson, and I've created my basic structure here, I'm going to go to line 6. It doesn't matter if I go to 5, 6, or 7, okay? So I'm going to go to line 6, and I'm going to write my first statement, which is write ln, which basically means write line, okay? And I'm going to open parentheses and close them, and inside I'm going to write a message that I want to appear on the screen. Now, to make a message appear on the screen, we need to use single quotes, okay? And we're going to type our message, so I'm going to say, hello everyone. And then we're going to close our single quotes. And as we did before, after our statement's finished, I'm going to add a little semicolon at the end. Okay? So what will happen now is Pascal will go through this statement. First of all, Pascal will start from the top and it will move line by line downwards. Okay? And the first instruction it will find is write ln. So it will find an instruction that's basically telling it to show this, or to output this, on the screen. Now, don't forget to put the single quotes. If you forget to put the single quotes, Pascal will be looking for a variable with the name hello and everyone. In this case, since we don't have any variables, Pascal will go crazy and will tell us that there's no variables or there's an unknown identifier. Okay, so if I run this, so I'm going to hit compile and I'm going to save it in a directory I made for you guys. Okay, and I'm going to call it first lesson. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Now, if I hit the execute button, will notice that something happens really quickly. So, not many of you might notice, but a little black window pops up and then it closes immediately every time I press it. This is because Pascal is carrying out this instruction so fast that we barely get a chance to see it. Now, to tackle this problem and to make sure that this message stays on the screen so that we can see it, we need to use another command called readLn, okay, which stands for read line, and then we're going to add a semicolon at the end to tell it that we finished. And if I hit compile and execute one more time, my message appears on screen right here. Okay? Right, perfect. So now we've displayed a simple message on the screen. So let's imagine that our program has a variable, and we'll call this variable first name. Okay? So I'm going to give this variable the name first name, and then I'm going to give it a type of string. Okay, and I'm going to put a semicolon. Now, each variable has to have a name and a data type. The string data type says that we will be saving characters or many letters in this variable. Now, when the program starts, before I write any message, like I did before, I'm going to get rid of all of this. I'm going to initialize my variable. What initialize means is I will give my variable, this one, a value. So if I have a variable of type string, the only way I can initialize it is by saying first name, colon, equals, and single quote. I'm going to write my name, okay? And then I'm going to put a semicolon. So effectively what I've done now, if I compile and execute this program, theoretically we won't see anything happening. All this program is doing is it's defining a variable with the name first name. It's giving it a data type of string, which means it will store characters inside, many characters inside. Okay? And all that's happening in the begin and end section here, we're giving the first name variable a value of Stavros. Okay? Now, if I want to show that I've actually done this, I can put a write-ln. Okay? And now I can print or I can output whatever is stored in first name just by writing first name here and closing the parentheses. Okay? So for this to stay on the screen, we need to put a readLn and the semicolon. Now, watch what happens when I click compile and execute. So, by doing this, it's showing me that in the variable variable first name, we have the value of Stavros saved inside. Okay. Now, do note that now we didn't use single quotes like this. If we use single quotes like this, Pascal will just write first name. It will not show us what's stored inside first name. So I'm going to hit compile just to show you and execute. So now we can see that instead of showing Stavros, it's showing first name. That's all because we have single quotes around the variable name. Now, we can do all sorts of different things here. So if I, for example, would like Pascal to say, hello and welcome, and then I want it to say my name, which is stored in the variable, I need to put a comma, and then I need to write first name, which is the name of our variable. And now what's going to happen is Pascal will write hello and welcome, and then it will show us whatever is stored in the variable first name. In this case, it's my name. Now be careful, because if I do this, notice how the quote doesn't have a space between the letter and the quote. So this means that it will say hello and welcome Stavros, and the welcome Stavros will be one word. Like so. To fix this problem, all we have to do is add an extra space here and hit that compile button and execute one more time. So now it's saying hello and welcome Stavros. Okay. Now, in some other cases, instead of having a variable with string as a data type, you might have a variable with a number as a data type. So for example, maybe I have a variable called grade, okay, and this would probably be an integer, like so. Integer means that the number that will be stored in grade will be a whole number. There will not be any decimal places. Okay, so just like we did before, I can initialize the variable grade, which means I can give the variable grade a value of my choosing. So for example, I'm going to say grade, which is the name of the variable, colon equals, and I'm going to put the number 100, and then I'm going to add the semicolon. Now, I'm going to tell Pascal to write on screen, so write ln, and I'm going to tell Pascal, congratulations. Whoops. Okay. You got, and I'm going to leave a space and I'm going to put a semicolon, and I'm going to close my quotes, and then I'm going to press comma, and I'm going to show that we got whatever's inside the grade. So I'm going to type in grade. Okay. And then I'm going to press semicolon and write readln one more time and semicolon. Okay, so that will say on the screen, congratulations, you got, and then it's going to show a colon, and then it will show me whatever I stored in the grade variable. So in this case, the grade variable contains the number 100, so it should say congratulations, you got 100. So let's take a look at that. So there we have it. It says, congratulations, you got 100. So basically, what you need to remember is anything that's in quotes, like this, will be displayed exactly the same on the screen. Anything without quotes will search for a variable and show whatever is stored in that variable. Okay, brilliant. So now, you guys have learned how to output things on the screen. Now, in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how we can input things into Pascal. So we can get a user to write things into Pascal, and then we can store them in different variables. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a really quick video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope to catch you in the next one.